States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The notice requirements of the New Jersey Public Meetings Law have been satisfied by forwarding the news release to the Asbury Park Press on December 17, 2015, stating that a regular meeting of the Cold Snack Township Committee will be held on February 10, 2016 at 7:30 p.m. Town Hall. The notice requirements have been posted on the township website and a copy is on file in the office of Township Clerk.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Committeeman Macnow.
Here.
Committeeman Eastman.
Here.
Mayor Orgo.
Here. Approval of minutes. Any questions at all? No. Move. Second.
I'm sorry,
Looking for a second?
Yeah, got you. Second.
Second, I'll take roll.
I did.
Second,
Okay. Roll call.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
yes.
Committeeman Macnow.
Yes.
Committeeman Eastman.
Yes.
Mayor Orgo.
Yes. Resolution 2016-33, confirming appointments of farmland and open space committee. Comments? Motion? Move. Roll call.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Committeeman Macnow.
Yes.
Committeeman Eastman.
Yes.
Mayor Orgo.
Yes.
Jerry Lee.
No.
Oh, she was coming.
Ordinance 2016-5, ordinance amending and revising Chapter 29 Fire Prevention Bureau, 29.7 permits and fees. This is the first reading by title. This was, they're changing the fees.
This is in connection with the, for nonprofit or entities that participate, Boy Scouts, things of that nature. The ordinance currently requires the waiving of that fee by the township committee. The provision will allow for the township committee to delegate
This is
needs to
for
make a timetable.
parks, on the Boy Scouts or something else.
And then-
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Committeeman Macnow.
Yes.
Committeeman Eastman.
Yes.
Mayor Orgo.
Yes, the said public hearing set for February 24th. Presentation. Tim, please.
Good evening.
Just, got it. You tell them about it.
Back in the mid-90s and early 90s, we used to have a development option within the A1 zone that was known as the rural residential development. Basically what it did, instead of requiring a 2-acre lot in the A1 zone, it would up the lot area to 5 acres. However, as an incentive for the increased lot acres, it would give you reduced street improvements and reduced drainage improvements to minimize your development costs. In 1993, the state of New Jersey adopted rural residential subdivision standards, which basically made the provisions of the rural residential development standards obsolete, because you would be able to build 2-acre lots on that same size street without drainage improvements. In response to the rural residential development standards back in 1993 when they were adopted, the township identified 3 developments that were developed under the rural residential subdivision standards, being Paddock Lane, Lime Brook, and Downing Hill Road, and basically rezoned them from A1 to A5. Since that occurred in 1999. Since that time, we found out that there was one other development that was approved under the rural residential subdivision standards, and that's 4 lots that's informally called Nantone Court, which is a private street. So the ordinance basically rezones those 4 lots that were approved under the former rural residential development standards from A1 to A5.
one other place that it affects, that's in Antoine Court, is that the name?
That's the ordinance that we're rezoning, yes.
Right.
That was the one, the rural residential development that we missed back in 1999.
Is there a chance that that will then turn into, that was being subdivided into 2 acre lots?
Due to the configuration, I don't think all 4 lots would be able to be subdivided into 2 acre lots, but you probably could get 6 lots out of the 4 of them if you consolidated properly.
There's at least 2 of the houses that are for sale over there, right?
Yes. There's a foreclosure and there's another house that's for sale that I'm aware of.
Any concern about somebody buying 2 of them and making 4 lots?
Well, that's one of the, this is being a proactive ordinance that would prevent that. Actually, it's not identified in the master plan, so on my memo to you, you probably should know the property owners within 200 feet and the property owners.
So we'll move on. Do that for next one.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to go to planning board first, right?
Well, after it's introduced, so if you introduce it tonight, then I can have it on the planning board March agenda. If you, well, even if you do the second meeting this month, I can get on the planning board March agenda.
And then notification will be made at that point in time to the,
It's prior to the second reading, I believe.
We only have this presentation only, I think that because it's a change to the master plan, we are probably going to put it on the.
It did say for possible ordinance introduction.
Are we comfortable with that, John and Ken, in terms of, because obviously the notification will require the master plan notifying everybody within 200 feet.
I'm okay with the introduction on first reading, and then it'll be sent to the planning board, and then we will have to give the notices to all the people. But you give it before the second reading, so you don't before the first, so it would be, right.
So at this point, there will be on next month's, in 2 weeks.
No, we'll be on in 2 weeks.
That's
We're
for
after the planning
public
board.
hearing, no.
No, okay.
Do we have to notice them for the public hearing?
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry, for the planning board.
No.
Okay, so you can have this meeting and a planning board meeting without notifying them and then have them here the second time. That's my concern. I don't know if that's really where we want to go. And it only affects 5 property owners, but there's, you gotta notify Marlboro because it's across the street, right?
Yes.
You gotta notify, whatever the nest behind it, Earl Beaver's, no, it's the other one. I'm just concerned about not giving a whole lot of notice. I know we have to do by law, but I think we probably err on the side of giving more notice than less.
Well, you can notice them after this meeting at any time and give them 3 weeks' notice for the meeting for March. I
Can
mean,
the
you
notice
can do that now.
Or can the notice include the planning board meetings? We know when that's.
It could. Doesn't have to, but it could. You're not required by law to notice the planning board meeting, but if you're going to send out, say that this has been introduced,
Will be
That's
reviewed,
correct.
recommended, or.
right, it'll be reviewed by the planning board, and then it doesn't matter what happens, because the planning board can recommend against it, but you could still pass it anyway. And you'll have a public hearing, so you can say, it was introduced, there'll be a public hearing on March, so I'm making up a date, March 17th. In the meantime, there will be a planning board review of this, and if you're interested, you may attend that. But you have to put the statutory requirement of this in the March meeting. You can do a vote for both. One letter that way.
Yeah, one letter, just let them know when the planning board meeting is
Right.
all.
Okay, you can do that. When is the planning board going to do it?
Second Tuesday of March.
Okay.
The 9th or the 8th?
Well, no. Yeah, no, you don't need to know it now. You'll figure it out when you guys do the letter.
Yeah, mediate.
and so the second,
And our meeting will be the 9th.
We have to, the planning board has to meet before.
They meet the 8th, and we meet the 9th.
so you're doing one day spread out.
Yeah, that's fine.
So if you introduce it tonight, you can set a public hearing.
Yes. So you'll set a public hearing for the 9th. Now,
So you want
you're
to set a public
assuming
hearing?
the planning board has by law 35 days.
How do you set the public hearing?
Because you set it now, and if the planning board doesn't act, then you will carry it when you get to that date. It's not so complex that the planning board isn't, I'm sure the planning board is probably going to act on it. This is not
Okay.
They've never not acted on one,
Right.
unless there was like a snow and we had
Yeah,
canceled.
which could happen. Which could happen. You know, I'm not sure that there's too many people in the room that care about Nantucket Court that much, but if you want to give them notification that there's going to be a public hearing on a specific date.
You have to set the date, right? So you could either do the first meeting, if you're not comfortable, you could do the second meeting in March. I mean, there's no, listen, it was done in 1999, there's no rush to exactly.
Well, the only issue is we no longer have that rule where if somebody went in and put an application in,
That's
it
right.
specified that before that, so we need to not fool around with this, but I'd like to see some notice of it.
I mean, if you want to do it, to be more comfortable, you could do it the second meeting in March.
Which is the 23rd, I think, it's a week earlier.
If you set it for the 9th, you could always set it back.
You could,
We do that,
No downside, I guess.
okay.
Right.
okay? All right,
So are we going to read it by title?
8th and 9th,
Yeah, it'll be
Read it by title
by title.
tonight.
yes.
We're reading it by title, the first reading tonight.
Right, right.
And the number is 2016-6.
That's the next number, that's what it is.
Just read the title, just the title.
Okay. Okay.
It's going to be 201.
6-6.
Yeah.
And this is here, an ordinance of the Township of Colesnick in the County of Monmouth, in the State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 102 of the Code of the Township of Colesnick entitled Development Regulations, Article 6, Zoning Requirements Common to All Districts, subsection 41 zoning map.
That's all we have to read, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I'll move it, second.
Roll call. Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor McNamara.
Yes.
Mayor Eastman.
Yes.
Mayor Orgo.
Yes.
Thanks for setting that public hearing.
I was just going to say that now. The ordinance 2016-6 having been duly introduced in accordance with law, a public hearing shall be set for March the 9th at the Township Hall, and notices shall be done in accordance with law.
2016.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Never know.
No, you're right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks.
We're going to go back to the state for the
Number
rest of the
3.
meeting.
That's okay.
Swear it in?
Yes.
Right, down to the page.
Have a seat, Jeff.
Sorry, I'm late.
No problem.
I haven't seen you in a while. Jeanine, you're awesome. You're gonna raise your right hand. I just repeat after me. There you go. I state your name.
I, Janine Gonzalez,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform
perform
all the duties of the office
all the duties of the office
of alternate one Farmland and Open Space Committee, Township of
of
Colescott,
alternate one Farmland and Preservation Committee, Township of Colesnick,
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God. Thank you.
You need your signature real quick.
Resolution 2016-34, authorizing the execution of an agreement with Jeffrey Sawyer. Comments?
None.
Motion?
Move it. Second.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor McNamara.
Yes.
Mayor Eastman.
Yes.
Mayor Orgo.
Yes. Resolution 2016-35, resolution authorizing formal transfer of funds for the 2015 budget. Comments? Anything on that? Motion? Any seconds?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor McNamara.
Yes.
Mayor Eastman.
Yes.
Mayor Orgo.
Yes. Administrative report.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. The bridge over Big Brook on Hillsdale Road is roughly 60 years old, and as such, the county, who does routine inspections, has identified that there's some deterioration. As a result, we will be assessing the possibility of either making repairs and/or replacing the bridge. During that time, they have done what they call downposting, and they are minimizing the weight. They're putting a weight restriction of 5 tons on that bridge. Detour signs, if they're not up already, which I don't think they are, will be going up in the near future until such time that they can assess whether it's going to be repair on the place. So just an FYI for anyone who travels over that particular bridge. Also, the upcoming primary election is drawing near, and we are looking for poll workers. So anyone interested in participating as a poll worker for the June primary and the general election in November, you can contact the Monmouth County Board of Elections or reach out to Municipal Clerk Kara, who can give you information on that. And finally, just a follow-up on a comment that came up last week in connection with a traffic light at Route 34 and Artisan Way. After doing a little research on that, my understanding is there is a Route 34 highway access management plan in the works, and part of that plan would include the installation of a traffic light at that location. However, construction probably won't begin until sometime in the next
35 years.
35, 40 years.
2020 is what they're.
2020, is that what they said?
That was Mr. Becker that came in and asked.
Yes.
So
It
that's
was
not-
Mr. Becker, yes.
That's not Mr. Becker.
They decided to do the other part first, so. Mike?
Vouchers are next. Total vouchers, $644,228.78. I will tell you that I pulled out one voucher for $225 just because I didn't recognize the name, Marilyn Sain, S-A-I-N. It says DMV, so I'm guessing she's a vet, or guessing that it relates to putting an animal down or something. I don't know what it was, it could have been, but until I find out what it is, I'm not signing it. So I took that one out. So I took that one, it's $225, so I would ask for approval of all of that, with the exception of that $225 voucher.
Maybe you'll approve it as soon as you get the engine.
I will. Yes, yeah. And I've also asked the administrator to check with, on the voucher list is a request for the lawyer's diary manual for $109. That's a legal publication for the court, but I've asked whether or not they really need a new one or not, because they don't really know, our calendar, but it's really for working with lawyers and that kind of stuff. So we're going to see if we can get by without that additional $100 expenditure every year. With that, Mayor, I would ask for approval. I'll second myself.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mayor Mcdowell.
Yes, except to abstain for committees.
Committee Eastman.
Yes.
Mayor Overham.
Yes, and abstain from the fine trees. Committee reports.
I know. Tomorrow, so call us tomorrow night for those interested to call up the report.
I have an announcement by the county of Monmouth that they're offering free influenza vaccines, which is a good price. Free is always a good price. So if one calls the county health department, they have the vaccines at their office. It's Route 9 in Freehold, and you have to call the health department to make an appointment to get shot in the arm. So I'll leave it up here in case anybody wants to get a free flu shot.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a report because I missed Shade Tree on Thursday because my prep was good. So that's all I got. You had planning board last night.
Well, Monday night we had farmland preservation, open space. We didn't have a quorum.
6,000 people on the committee.
I need one more.
So anyhow.
I'll be there for the next one.
It's, they're working. It's all work in progress. They just got to get a few more things straightened out and maybe to work on some more new forms. Last time we had planning board. Nothing really on the planning board, just a couple extensions of time. CMBA was this morning. They are working on this they had this thing, it was Crossroads of Colts Neck, and now we just, big discussions. It's going to be either welcome to Colts Neck at the Crossroads, or they're working on it. They just haven't decided. It's to designate their business district, coming in from 537 on each side and 34 on each side when you come into it, it's so that you know you're in the business district. They're trying to brand the area. So it's a pretty sign, everything's like that. They had Crossroads at Colts Neck, and I just thought it was too much like a real estate development, so they're going to change it. It sounds like a real, like you're going to pull into some housing or something. So they're going to work on that. I want them to put entering, Colts Neck Crossroads, because on the horse, the way it's designed, they got the 34 one way on the bridle and 537. It's quite nice. If you want to see it next month at the meeting, second Wednesday of the month, 8 o'clock at the library. Their luncheon's coming up at Trump. I want to say it's March 15th. If anybody wants to join, you don't have to be a CMBA member to go through. You just got to talk to somebody from the CMBA and then get your tickets or whatever. That's one thing. Another piece of interest. Most of you people know Ruth downstairs in the registrar planning board office and all. Well, her son Mark, who I've known for quite a few years, he used to work for me one time, has been invited to compete for the Olympics for next year in Brazil. And he was in running. He does over 100 miles a week.
It's a distance running.
Yes. Does over 100 miles a week practicing. Anyhow, this Saturday they're competing in LA. So hopefully, Mark can make the grade, make us all proud here in Colts Neck. We have another young lady we're going to do next month.
Yeah, for some of you who were here when we honored the Colts Neck women's soccer team for winning the sectional title, well, one of their players, Frank Ferry, was honored as the Gatorade female soccer player of the year, state of New Jersey. So first from Colts Neck High School, and we are going to do something for her next month.
Next month.
So pretty big honors for people.
Unless you remember to tell her. Unless you remember to tell her.
Yeah. Comments from the public?
Elaine Mary, 34 Colts Neck. Is it the policy of the Township of Colts Neck to send any township employee for degree programs in the police department, for educational updates from the state of New Jersey? Is the responsibility on training being paid for by the Township of Colts Neck? As an example, sometimes Tim has to go for upgrades, I have to go, he has to
Yes.
go.
There are training budgets, you know that, from both
Right.
sides.
But I just wanted to clarify that. Then why is it that the township does not pay for the training of CPR at the fire company and first aid squad, when they have to call in an outside vendor to provide that? Why is the onus
They have their budgets, they have a budget just like every other department has a budget. I mean, the police department has a budget, the fire department has a budget, and they pay for their training out of their budgets.
Well, usually it comes out of the bills list. When I look at the bills list, then we said, officer so-and-so, it costs X amount of money, and so I was just questioning.
Well, it used to be, and I don't know what it is with the first aid now, but we used to have trainers that were in the first aid, they used to train.
Right.
We're licensed to train.
I'm sure they still do.
And I don't know if they do or not, and they used to go to the fire company, they did the first aid, I don't know. Somebody can find out.
I mean, they have a budget, first aid gets money from us every year, fire department does too. If they have to go outside, I'm sure they use their public funds to do that. No different than any other department that use funds for training. If you know something different, then tell us. I mean, shouldn't be a big secret. If they have internal people training them, then they have internal people training them.
Well, it was my understanding from my husband that they had to pay for it out of their budget, and I'm gonna say it out loud. Fire company number 2 is almost bankrupt.
Yeah, well, we haven't been told anything about, nobody said anything from the fire department to us about funding for training.
So, I said to him, well, I'll ask the question tonight because I know that we provide payment for training for employees and,
So it's all built on each one's budgets. They should have it.
all right, just who's questioning?
Mr. Sawyer?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Orgo. Jeff Sauter, 41 Ann Street, Colts Neck, New Jersey. I got a comment that I want to make, which is reading a letter that I'll provide a copy to Beth Cara for your guys' record that I would like to have attached to the minutes of the meeting. Dear Mayor Orgo, and this is in reference to Bond Ordinance 2016-2, public hearing. Dear Mayor Orgo, as you know, public hearings are a critical component in the governmental process, which allows residents, citizens, and members of the public to comment and, more importantly, ask questions concerning a particular ordinance or resolution before final passage. These hearings give us, the residents of this great community, an opportunity to comment and ask questions before we, the people, write the check. So without any doubt, these public hearings play a critical role in allowing the people to participate in government and exactly why it is part of the laws and deep traditions of this great state and country. However, after the January 27, 2016 public hearing on Bond Ordinance 2016-2, I don't feel Committeeman Michael Fitzgerald subscribes yet again to another such basic and underlying principle of our government today. During that particular public hearing, I asked a simple question to educate myself and, more importantly, the public of a basic timeline when we'll see work beginning on these proposed projects, particularly given the extended period of time in which the Township Committee has been delaying these critical infrastructure items, i.e. roads and public buildings. I wanted the public to be informed of an approximate timeline when boots would be on the ground on both public projects. The public hearing process started out relatively well, with Committeeman Russell Macknow providing more information about the projects other than the title of the resolution written on the agenda sheet. Unfortunately, the civil public hearing discussion ended rather abruptly, and within a few minutes when Michael Fitzgerald decided to interrupt and declare that he has had enough and began to interject his own opinions and opinions concerning the discussion. After Michael Fitzgerald finished with his sudden opinions and putting his head down, I attempted to continue with my civil discussion with Russell Macknow, and once again Michael Fitzgerald decided to interrupt. This time, though, Mr. Fitzgerald decided to interrupt me by making statements that has nothing to do with the public hearing and everything to do with making yet another personal attack to somehow discredit me in a public forum by declaring we're not friends. To diffuse the unfortunate discourse and Mr. Fitzgerald's inability to control himself and stop focusing his comments towards attacking me personally, I have subsequently ended my public hearing questions prematurely. As mayor, you're fully aware of the Open Public Meeting Act, or more commonly referred to as the Sunshine Law, and most importantly, what it allows and disallows under the law. As mayor, who is preparing to sign a settlement agreement with the ACLU that is directly on this point, I'm quite positive you and everyone sitting at the table are fully aware that comments and statements made during public hearings should be related to the business of government or relate to the issues of concerns to the residents of the municipality. So like you and likely everyone else present during that meeting, I was bewildered over how Mr. Fitzgerald's friendship with me relates to the business of Colts Neck or is of concern to any resident of Colts Neck. Though I'll easily get over the fact that Mike and I will never be friends, I'm more troubled over the fact that you, and equally important, that our township attorney failed to censor his comments. I'm also troubled over the fact that Michael Fitzgerald is more concerned over project bidders somehow getting some unfair advantage over the taxpayers' general understanding of the projects who ultimately write the checks. Nevertheless, this is another example of Michael Fitzgerald's double standard when it comes to policing his own actions and unconcerned for the taxpayers who ultimately pay these bills. Anyway, without belaboring the point, I fully understand why Michael Fitzgerald does not consider me a friend, and likely many other citizens who challenge him to do what is right for the common good and not just a select few. Though it may be apparent Michael Fitzgerald and I don't agree on much, I do actually agree that we are not friends, because I do not associate myself with individuals that exhibit such questionable morals and ethics, in my opinion, like those exhibited by our committeeman, Michael Fitzgerald. So I once again encourage you, as our mayor, and everyone sitting at that table, to not focus your attention on shooting the guy behind the camera or to publicly harass another watchdog, but rather accept those challenges as a means to improve our abilities and, more importantly, improve what is right for the residents of this great community. Thank you. I got nothing further.
Any more questions? Any more comments? Mr. Wilcox.
Fulton Wilcox, 92 Cloverdale Road. Actually, just the point at this meeting, what was sent to the Asbury Park Press was a press release as opposed to taking an ad. Is that significant? I mean, and will the Asbury Park Press actually react and publish a notice?
I'm not sure the question is.
I don't understand.
When you read your opening, you said
Yes.
this meeting was announced by a press release to the...
Yes, that's the annual notice of all meetings for the township
Oh,
committee.
so-
And that's done at the end of December, once the township committee sets the schedule at their last meeting. Then I publish the list of all meetings that will be held the following year. And this notice has been read for many years
Okay,
prior
is
to
it-
my arrival.
I was just reacting because
Yes.
a lot of
It's not
times...
anything new.
Okay, because newspapers don't always react at all to press releases, so I just didn't
No,
know
no.
if
It's
it
one-
was sufficient notice for this
One
meeting.
annual notice that's done
Okay.
in December, and that's the date, December, that's the date it's published.
Yep, that's good.
Elaine Mann, on question number 5, on the zoning, could you clarify A1 as opposed to A5? And on number 6, since you voted on it, what was the terms of number 6?
All right. Number 5, the rezoning. Back in the day, when Dr. Nantone wanted to do that, Dr. Larry, when they did that there for a private family. Everything was divided up for families. It's not a public street or anything. It's all private little driveways and everything else about that thing. And that's the way it was done. The reason it's being done is it got omitted in 99. Right, it's A5, it would be the same as Paddock Lane, it would be the same as Mine Brook, where we have all 5 and 6 acre lots, because that's what they are. So it's the same zone.
A1, A5 refers to different zones.
Yeah, A5 is 5,
Well, A1 is how
2
many
acres.
acres?
2 acres.
And A5 is 5 acres?
5, 6, I think. 5 or
That-
5
that's
plus.
all, yeah.
The 1 and the 5 don't necessarily correspond to an acreage.
Yeah.
You just didn't quite
So
understand.
that's where Mine Brook came from, Paddock Lane,
They just
and
want to know-
Pegasus.
They just want to know what the A1 and A5 was.
The difference in the zoning requirements.
Right.
And that agreement's available for the public, you can read it. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Wilcox.
Susan Wilcox, 92 Cloverdale Road. I got a question on the shopping center where Heidi's is.
The old one.
The guy that owns it lives in Lakewood, and I know
No, it doesn't.
he doesn't live in Lakewood?
No, it's a deal.
That he lives what?
Deal.
All right. He doesn't live in Cold Snap, I guess maybe that's what I could say. And I know that he isn't repairing a lot of stuff, and you're finding him. And he doesn't repair them. Is there a way that you could, every time that he doesn't repair them, and he ups the rent, that you could up the fine, and to the point where, I mean, I know you can't go the other way around, but could you do it that way? Because it is a disgrace. Those stores are a disgrace.
The
And
fines,
yet he pays the fine and doesn't do anything.
the fines are set by the judge, so, they're not, so the judge is the one that decides how much the fine is gonna be. He can be re-summoned for a violation, so that if you have a violation today, and then he goes to court and he doesn't correct it, he can be summoned again, and he can go to court, and then one would suspect the judge may raise it. He can raise it only up to a certain limit. I think it's $2,000
Okay.
but I'm not positive. I think it's 2.
Yeah, it's not 2,000, you're correct. I'm not sure that he's been violated recently, though.
Either am I.
Just so you know, I mean.
He's paying the fines, but he's not doing the work.
Wait a minute, let's take a step back. I'm not sure where you're getting that information. I'm not sure that's accurate. I think the problem is we can't find ugly, so I don't know that all we can find is repairs. And although you think that there's repairs being done, or being fined for the stuff, I don't think there's a recent violation that he's been.
I don't know,
No, I'm not positive, the very recent, I'll take the Huddies, for example, just an example.
Okay.
That place, the kitchen is a disaster, the bathrooms are a disaster, he's been fined on them, and he just pays a fine and he hasn't.
I just want you to be careful, making a logical leap that may or may not be true, and we just have to make sure that we don't get
Well,
involved.
that notice is closing
The old
anyway.
Huddy's is closing this week. I think.
Closed.
It's already closed.
So it's already closed. But whether or not the kitchen was a disaster, and whether or not the bathroom was a disaster, and whether or not that constitutes a violation under the code are two different things. So we're making an assumption here that may not be true.
Okay, so I researched this, and it is true, the judge is the one that, because it's a reflection, you're talking about putting a beautiful sign up, says business area of Walset, and you're walking in some of these stores, and they're,
But the stores are controlled by not by the landlord, but by the renter inside. He's.
they're responsible for the upkeep?
Well, we have to see their lease. They may, I'm not saying they are.
Okay, so we gotta look up.
The problems that we've had in the past, there primarily have been some things on the outside, primarily in the parking area.
Lighting.
And that's been a while ago. And
Yeah, no, I know that.
Okay, and then a complaint, the code enforcement officer would write a complaint, it would then go to the court, judge sets the fine.
Right.
That fine doesn't go to do any repairs.
It would.
It doesn't go to any repairs, it goes to the towns, but it doesn't go into like a repair fund or something. So there's no relationship between them. If he doesn't do the repairs, he can get another, or summons, and get another fine. But that doesn't go to do the repairs.
So you don't hold
Right.
fines.
It's a punitive action as opposed to a corrective action.
Right. But apparently, it seems to obvious to me, that it's cheaper for him to pay the fine and not do the work.
Well, that I can't.
I mean, if he isn't doing it and he keeps getting fined, I mean, you know,
But
it's
it
pretty obvious.
hasn't, I could stand corrected, but, because I haven't been there regularly, but for the last few times that I've been in court, I don't recall there being a recent penalty. I know that doesn't mean there hasn't been, but I don't recall it. However, if there is, it doesn't go into a repair fund, it's punitive. Now, what can happen and what we need to have done, if you have some examples, and today, tomorrow, or whenever, get those into the administrator, she'll get it to the code enforcement officer, and we'll send somebody over there, and if there's a violation, no matter who, if it's a landlord or the tenant, we don't get into that necessarily. We just could have the code, if a violation of the code is happening, then a summons can be written, and that brings them into the court.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
But when somebody would have to tell the code enforcement officer, not the police,
Or the health officer.
or the health officer, if
It was a kitchen for
The health
example.
officer.
or rodents, or, you know, that kind of thing. Okay.
It's a homework to do.
Judy?
Chief Officer Greenhill. I just have a couple questions. How much money was transferred from the 2015 budget? I remember
Is this fine?
7.
We should have said that when we did it, I didn't do that. It's $8,700, $6,700 transferred from legal services, $2,000 from recycling, and they were all transferred to gasoline, to pay for gasoline.
Thank you.
And we usually do that in your right too, so we did that there.
And the other question I have is, you didn't publish the name of the young lady that was read into the Farm Act. It would have been nice, in the resolution, you use her name.
I didn't read the resolution.
It actually would have been two names if we actually did. The reason we didn't do that was we didn't think it in and we're here, and Jean was a little bit late, so it was actually, let's see, it's Janine and Jenna Casimo. I don't know Jenna. She was
So
at
their names are actually on the resolution, on the board, or online.
Okay, thank
They're
you.
just not in the agenda.
Jean, you have to tell us how to say your name the right way, so we don't butcher it.
Janine Pinguello.
Perfect. I'll never have that.
Thank you.
Yes, Allison Antonucci, I'm Free Pilgrim Way and member of Cold Snake Business Association Executive Board. I did speak to the code enforcement official several months ago about the stores downtown. And I was told if we was to report something, we could get some action. That's all we have to do, get on these guys. It shouldn't be that it has to go to court. It seems like, why do we have a code enforcement official if he's not going to go down here, see the violations that we all see? It's dark, there's rodents, there's garbage, there's issues in the back of the buildings, there's issues in front of the buildings, and everybody sees it. And I don't know if we should take going to court as opposed to our code enforcement. Is there a different method to get there? Because we're doing what you are asking, as a business association, we're asking the same questions. How can we get a resolution to the problem that exists with this guy? We know he's difficult, but is there a better way to go about it? And do we have a code enforcement official that could aid us to get there?
The only authority code enforcement has is it's a process. They see something that's wrong, they have to give a notice to quit, to say, you have 5 days, 10 days that to correct the situation or summons will be written. And the enforcement portion can only be done by then writing a summons to take it to court. There is no, he can't assess a fine and have it collected by us. There's no provision under the law for administratively that to take place. It's kind of, it's like a traffic ticket.
Outside of an ordinance, if there's an ordinance that he has to do
That's
A, B,
exactly
and
right.
C,
That's correct.
and he doesn't do it, it's only through the courts,
Right,
and
just
the fine
like
is
if,
better?
and I can compare it to motor vehicle. There's laws of speeding. The police would love to be able to, do something and take their license away if someone's doing 100 miles an hour. They can only write a ticket, and goes to the judge, and the judge gives the penalty. Same kind of thing. A violation of the ordinance, the code enforcement officer writes a violation, ultimately gives time to correct it. If it doesn't get corrected, depending on severity, I mean, if it's really bad, he can do it right immediately. But usually, it's a period of time to correct, usually. And then if it's not corrected, he writes a violation of the ordinance, and it goes to the municipal judge to correct, just like on a traffic ticket. It's the best way to compare it. And that's the only way to be able to do it. Now, you can bring them multiple times. There's nothing, like, if someone is speeding, it's usually a one-time thing on that instance. Code violation can be a continual violation, and so you can do multiple tickets and then it's up to the judge whether he consolidates them or he gives individual fines. But as soon as that fine is done, if it's not corrected, then another one can be written, and another one, and another one. And so ultimately, and the most the fine can be on a single incident is $2,000. If there were multiple instances that he got multiple summonses for, then there could conceivably be a maximum of a multiple $2,000 per incident. It's not for all put together. So if there were, I'm not saying there are, because I don't have any idea, if there was a violation for rodents and a violation for lighting and a violation for something else, they could each be a separate ticket, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I got a question. Who writes this particular law? I guess it's a law, that it goes to the code, the enforcement, then it goes to the court, and he sets a fine, the guy pays the fine, and then he doesn't do anything, and it goes over and over. Isn't there a limit where if you don't do it 5 times, you will go to jail or something? I mean, seriously, you could do 15, 20, write 15 to 20 code enforcements and send them to the judge, and he just pays the fine and goes on his merry way. And Colts Neck is going to literally pot.
There's no imprisonment for violation of a code violation.
Who writes the law?
Well,
Is it the state?
The ordinances have to follow state law to a certain degree, and it's a civil violation. So certain penalties are permitted under the general laws as given to us from the state, and it allows you to go up to a fine of $2,000, for instance, in municipal court. That's the jurisdiction.
So the state would have to change the way.
It used to be 500 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, only moved from 1,000 to 2,000 about 2 years ago.
But it's the state that you'd have to go to see if we can get, if that person doesn't do it and do the repairs and just pays the fine multiple times and just lets the place go to pieces.
You can understand the frustration. I think what happens over
Ken,
time.
what department is it in the state?
Well, it's the legislature that would make the law, but it's
Okay, so we'll go to that.
it's the only
You
time.
answered my question, we'll go to that.
Okay.
Okay?
I just, sorry,
3 times in your round, go ahead.
this is my third time, okay. On this same vein, the senior citizens had their meeting that I was to in January, and JP didn't report in his report when he gave it last time to the township committee, but there was an incident at the Colts Neck Inn where the seniors meet, and they also have their meeting there and have lunch. A senior fell out in the parking lot, and they had to be taken to the hospital. Now, when you're walking in the front door, that parking lot is really very unstable for people that aren't sure-footed. And that should be looked into for their safety.
Thank you.
Hi, Diana Jaskin. I'm just curious, is there a time frame between when a person, business owner, is fined and the return of the person to investigate to see if that repair was made?
If he gives them time to get the job done.
Right, how much time
Because
is?
it's up to the two of them. They usually work out an agreement. 5 days a week, 2 weeks. Like right now, I mean, if you had something where you had to do concrete, you couldn't do it till the spring.
Oh, no, I understand that part.
It's worked out with code enforcement.
Sometimes the judge will allow them time to get the repair done as part of the resolution of the
Right.
settlement.
But if after the fine, there's, generally, it's kind of, we have, well, I think you just hired a second one, didn't you, code enforcement?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. So we have one part-time code enforcement officer who frankly generally is reactionary as opposed to proactive. I mean, that's just, it can be sometimes proactive, but generally, so if anyone sees a problem and they let the administrator know, that we get the person to get out there, and they're the ones that, we know there's a problem, so that's who gets done first. So, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Sometimes, he is sometimes also proactive on other
He
places,
sees
but,
something when he's out doing his enforcing.
correct.
Certainly.
So he doesn't ignore it, I mean, but my suggestion is that there are specifics, and what is that if you get him to the administrator, then he is out there. And then if you see, let's say that, I'm gonna say it's the lighting app, just for the sake of this discussion. And you know that he ends up going to court, and the lighting doesn't get fixed. Then immediately let the administrator know again, another ticket can be written. I'm not trying to put it on you, I'm just saying, as a practical matter, that's how the best way is to do it, because it's a big town, there's one part-time person doing it, and generally, he's reacting to complaints, and then if he sees something while he's reacting, he'll do it, but, I mean, I'm just trying to tell you how it is.
Actually, that's what answered my question. He's reactive as opposed to proactive. That was
Mostly,
my-
yes.
Yeah,
Primarily limited by the amount of time. he has
right,
to-
right.
I just
So-
want
As a part-time person, I
Plus,
understand.
plus if it's Friday, he has to be at court, that just takes more time off from
Right.
going out and investigating.
He's
Well,
generally in
we're
court
working on
every
it.
Friday, I will say that. Generally, he's in court almost every Friday
Well,
with
well-
some violations.
We'll talk more about that during budget time.
All right? Two more things. Number one, hopefully tomorrow, 11 o'clock, Cuddy's will open, for those that want to go. The other thing is,
That was Wednesday. That was right.
no, tomorrow. Resolution 2016-36, executive session. The Township Committee may return to open this session this evening to take an action, but we don't know yet.
Now I'm going to add one thing to the agenda, which is the color litigation. That's not on the list, and I think it should. The executive session.
For executive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no problem.
All right. So,
Second.
We closed you, which, what?
Can I just ask you a question?
No.
Is there two roads in and out of Putty's? Can you go right and left? up?
Yes. When you come
When
in
did
from
that
third,
get passed?
what?
When did that get passed?
When the county told us how to do it.
Okay.
That's county roads, see? You think it's easy
I
on
just
this
was
side.
curious though, I mean.
No,
we
you
can-
go in, if you come off from 34, you can go in. You can only go out and go right. If you go all the way around by the other end, actually, you can go right or left.
Okay, that's what like, what, we were there the last night they were open. And that's what I was told, we should do that, but we didn't hear anything.
Go there during daylight.
Huh?
Go there during the daylight.
That's what.
All right, we need a motion.
Anyway, it clears things up. I don't know.
Roll call.
All in favor?
Aye.